Inshallah. It's a term you hear a lot in Afghanistan. We'll have bread tomorrow, inshallah. Inshallah, my son will soon be 5. It's only 18 hours to Kabul, inshallah. It means God willing. Afghans submit their lives to God's care because they know they have no control over it themselves. Everything is in His hands. Mothers die in childbirth, children die in infancy, crops fail. In Afghanistan, every journey is an adventure, and you never know what's going to happen along the way. Our journey had begun at Heathrow. We'd been to Bahrain, Dubai and Kabul, and now we're on board a light aircraft heading for Faizabad, the provincial capital of Badakhshan. We're on our way to investigate if we should send a small, full-time team to the Wahakan corridor in northeast Afghanistan. We're interested to find out if we could help promote and support a number of medical and economic development projects. In particular, we want to see for ourselves if tourism might be a viable way of the local people generating some much-needed income. Below us, the Hindu Kush mountains stretched as far as the eye could see. As the plane banked to land, we caught our first glimpse of Faizabad, previously one of the last bastions of resistance against both the Russians and the Taliban. It's an ancient and in places beautiful town, but we didn't get much chance to look around before we were back on the road again. The road from Faizabad to the Wahakan corridor is not the place to hang around. It's an area where opium poppy used to be grown, and the local people are still upset with the provincial governor who enforced its eradication. Westerners and officials have been attacked, so we didn't stop until 7 hours later we arrived at Kashim. As you can imagine, we were glad to get out and arrive at Wafayi's guest house.
Welcome.
Thank you. How are you? Hello.
This would be the last time we'd see a bed for a fortnight. Kashim is just the crossroads between 2 dirt roads, but around here it's the closest you'll get to civilization. From here on in, you have to be entirely self-sufficient, because there's no shops, no electricity, and not even any wood for fuel. In fact, apart from the vehicles we were taking with us, things in the Wahakan corridor are pretty much the same as they were when Marco Polo came through on his way to China. The poor old minibus we'd rented in Faizabad got a real battering. In the summer we'd have needed a 4x4 with a snorkel, because these rivers swelled to become raging torrents fed by glacial meltwater. The Aga Khan Foundation, along with the German government, have been funding bridge building schemes. These prevent villages from being cut off from each other, which allows vital supplies to be traded and allow children to get to school. We passed this group of students and teachers who are making their daily trip to school. It takes them over 3 hours every morning and every afternoon. Greg Mortenson, an American mountaineer, has been building schools in the area ever since his life was saved by local villagers just across the border in Pakistan. We'd seen many of his schools during our time in the Wahakan, and it was an inspiration to see how much can be achieved by the efforts of just one man. After another 7 hours of bone-jarring off-road driving, we arrived in a remote village in the Hindu Kush. Nothing more than a scattering of 19 stone and mud houses, some sheep, cattle and patchwork fields. This would be home for us for the next 2 weeks. And if things go to plan, it could be home for a whole lot more. Inshallah. There's something about the light in Afghanistan. It has a magical golden glow that makes everything come alive. In fact, those villagers who live on the sunny side of the valley have dramatically lower levels of depression than those who live in the shadow of a mountain. The combination of exotic clothes, dramatic landscape and magical light make the Wahakan seem like a fantasy land. Even the animals are tame. It feels like we're a million miles away from our lives back home. But life here is no fantasy. The province of Badakhshan suffers the highest recorded maternal mortality rate in the world. 1 in 3 children die before the age of 5. In the winter, temperatures drop below -25 degrees Celsius. Villages are cut off, food runs out, and people starve. The good news is things are changing. On this trip we visited 28 villages to distribute medicines to the healthcare workers who have been trained to diagnose basic illnesses. Simple medicines like paracetamol and antiseptics are enough to save lives. Since this project began, the infant mortality rate has dropped significantly. Providing hospitality to travellers is regarded as a duty and an honour to all Muslim people. The women are cooking us lamb, rice and potatoes. This is a veritable banquet in the Wahakan. This is a humbling experience, as we know that the local people usually only eat a rough naan bread and drink tea. Extended families live together in open plan houses. In the winter the animals will live here as well. All cooking is done using animal dung, as wood is scarce and smoke can fill the room, escaping through a hole in the ceiling. Many illnesses and deaths are caused by regular exposure to smoke. Poverty is a major factor contributing to the ill health and poor conditions that the Wahhi people live in. They are subsistence farmers and have no economic opportunities other than to trade livestock for commodities such as oil, clothing and soap. So what options are there for sustainable development? There's not enough food to sell, the people are still largely uneducated, there's no industry or even many handicrafts, and even if there were, the infrastructure is so bad there's no viable route to market. What on earth could this area have going for it? Tourism has been recognised as a viable method of generating income for the local people. In fact, in the 60s and 70s, mountaineers used to come here in their droves. In 2003, a programme was begun by Mountain Wilderness to train a number of Afghans to become mountain guides. This is Malang and Gorg Ali, two of the Afghan guides, who later this year will attempt to climb Naushak, Afghanistan's highest mountain. The idea of tourism in Afghanistan may sound crazy, but travel companies have been successfully running trekking and horse riding holidays in the Wahakan corridor for the last 4 years. We had the chance to get even further off the beaten track and experience for ourselves why people might want to come to Afghanistan for a holiday. A number of guest houses have already been built and members of staff trained. They are basic, but you can be assured of a warm welcome, hot food and all the tea you can drink. If all goes according to plan, this is where we will live. It's a traditional open-plan Wahhi house with the ultra-modern addition of a glazed window. There's still a gaping hole in the roof and it's a bit run down, but with a bit of work it will be home. Our aim is to make this remote and extraordinary corner of the world home for the next 4 to 7 years. During that time we'll be communicating its potential as a tourist destination through the media, the internet and exhibitions. We hope to see mountaineers, trekkers and other adventure sports enthusiasts return in reasonable numbers. This will provide the local people with enough job opportunities to allow them to break out of this grinding poverty. We'll use whatever proceeds we can generate to invest in small businesses that can benefit from the influx of tourists and to support the desperately needed medical projects. Here in this scarred, divided and stricken nation is a small flame of optimism that with the support of people just like you could become a beacon of hope. We'd love to see mountaineers and trekkers from different faiths and cultures come and climb and hike together as an act of peace, goodwill and understanding. If we can tell the world about these expeditions through well-produced books, photographs and films, perhaps they will offer some inspiration, hope and unity to a divided world. Inshallah. If you'd like to find out more about our project or get involved, please visit our website at www.mountainunity.org.